Well, Mr. P, how are you?
Doing good. How are you? Nobody's ever called me Mr. P. I've gotten Andrew P, but Mr. P is
That
not
just
what.
that just rolled off my tongue, right?
Yeah, I don't know your middle name, or else I'd hit you with that. But
You know my middle name?
yeah, I'm just gonna call you Dustin because that sounds
Do,
weird to do.
do you not know my initials?
Nope.
Dad.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, good name, sir. Yeah. Anyhow, have you been keeping up with the news, or are we rolling into our normal show where I'm gonna explain what's been going on to you?
I've been keeping up a little bit, paying
Okay.
a little bit.
Did you see we had some election results just come in tonight?
Oh no, no,
So
no, no clue.
the Canadian election was today.
Ah,
Trudeau stepped down. Today was a big election. Mark Carney, the Democrat or liberal, I don't think they liberal and conservative is what they do up there. But the liberal
hmm.
was Mark Carney. He is the guy who like helped them. He steered them through the 2008 financial collapse, and then apparently went over and helped England with the whole Brexit thing. I think he's like a former Wall Street or like banker type guy, but he's really smart. I've heard him talk. He seems all right. And it was him versus a guy. I can't even say his name. It's French, but he's like the MAGA candidate that he. I think we played a video of him a while back where like a reporter was asking him a question. He was just kind of eating an apple and being shitty to the guy.
Oh yeah.
So it appears Carney won. I have no clue what the margin is, but like the Canadian TV stations are just now calling it. And the
Nice.
only reason that's even important is the Republicans should have won this election. Like the all of Canada was pissed at their Liberal Party. Trudeau had to step down. This Republican Trump type guy looked like he was going to win, and then our Trump got elected. And before he even got inaugurated, he started talking that 51st state stuff and just kind of going after Canada. And it turned the whole tide of Canada to where now like he shifted an election that conservatives should have won, and like just despite Trump, like liberals will hold on. So now Trump
Nice.
is going. I'll say this from a trade war perspective. Trump would have so much rather gone up against the MAGA guy because the MAGA guy apparently he's been in the Canadian Parliament or whatever for like 20 years and has never really done a whole lot. Like he's just one of those guys that doesn't put forward bills and like he's not a good opponent. Whereas the other guy, Mark Carney, truly seems like a smart dude. So if you're Trump,
So
you
Brexit was a far left movement.
I don't know what you would call Brexit. Brexit was like a working class thing. Like I want to
Hmm.
say if it was in America, like the far left and the far right would have been all for it, is how I understand it. Somebody feel free to correct me in the comments.
Yeah.
Trump was really for it. Trump was pushing Brexit. But I think that like the far left in England was also pushing for it, and it was the same kind of thing. We're losing manufacturing jobs to these other countries. I think it was something like it was like a working
Hmm.
class deal. Like the economy is not as good as it should be, and it's because of the European Union. We're going to leave the European Union. So
Okay.
by what I've seen, it has turned out not good for them since then, and they're all
Right.
kind of like oh, why did we leave? But I don't know that. I don't really know much about it. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of what I found. What I've heard is they're but just not happy with Brexit at all. It
yeah. Which
was kind of a mistake, but
speaking of things that I don't know enough about to talk about, there's all kinds of talk right now, like India and Pakistan, like could have a nuclear war with each other.
what?
Our whole life. So here's the thing: is India and Pakistan are like right next to each other, and they hate each other, and like they both have nukes, and their nukes are pointed at each other. But it's been that way for like 20, 25 years, maybe
Yeah.
more than that. So like we all kind of forget about those two. But there was a terrorist attack where somebody from Pakistan went into India and like point blank executed, like apparently asked them like, "Are you Muslim or Hindu?" And if they said Muslim, like shot him in the head, and apparently shot like one Christian dude in the head too. But
Oh,
that's got things fired up over there. I gave it about 20 minutes of research today to try to see if I could figure out what's going on and give a good comment on this. And I don't have anything to say. It's just
hmm.
apparently that's a thing we should be talking about, but I'm going to
Okay.
stick with what I know about.
So when we're talking foreign affairs, I do have a question for you because I just started a little research myself.
Okay.
Do you do you know like so you know George W. Bush is considered a war criminal?
Yeah, like the World Court has said that he violated.
Is it is it the World Court or the Human Rights Watch?
I don't know. I don't know at all.
Okay.
I know very
Do you
little.
know where they're stemmed from?
I'm gonna say the Hog, the Hague, the Hog, something like that. The Hague. I think it's the Hague. Hague, something like that.
Like Denmark, Sweden?
It's one
Is
of
it
those countries. Yeah,
okay?
I
So okay.
don't know enough about this. I
So they have like criminal human rights violations and war crimes spread
yeah,
across the whole world right now. Like Netanyahu's on that list, and
yes.
I don't know if Trump's on that list or not, but I'm guessing the Venezuela or is it Venezuelan? El Salvador, the
Oh
president of El
yeah.
Salvador. I'm guessing he's on there for his prisons.
I don't know if he is or not. The thing is, that's like a toothless organization where they like announce that they found someone liable of war crimes and nobody cares. Like
Yeah,
it's like the United Nations. Like you remember the movie Team America World Police, where
yeah.
they were going to inspect Kim Jong Un's, to see if they had nukes, and it's like I can't remember exactly what they said, but and if we find out that you're lying, we're gonna write you a really mean letter, and that's like the extent of what they can do. So anyhow,
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of what that court's all about. I still like W. I know that you can. There's a lot of great arguments that W is a war criminal and he crashed the economy, which he did, and we shouldn't have gone into Iraq. Like there's all these things that you
But
can
he's a
say.
really personal guy.
I just like him. It's because he's from Texas, and I like W. I would love to
He's
have
a
a
war
beer with
criminal.
W. Oh,
He allowed torture. He allowed torture.
I would not even try to defend a lot of what he and I was happy with him all the way till the end. Like at the time, I was like, W is the best president ever. I did not like the thought of Obama. Even as he was crashing the economy, I was like, it's not his fault. It was his fault for putting all the people around him that he did.
Wow.
And yeah,
What did it
deregulating Wall
feel?
Street.
What did it feel like when you came out of that bubble?
That wasn't until like 2014 that I even started to like not to
Oh
be like I
wow.
might to like that was the first at first I was just thinking I don't really agree with everything the Republicans are doing, so I kind of like I might be an independent, but I was probably still going to vote Republican. It wasn't till Trump came down the escalator that I for the first time in my life was like, oh man, I might have to vote for a Democrat, and at that Hillary Clinton, which was I did not vote in that election, but I was in Texas. If my vote had mattered, I would have voted, but I knew Texas was voting for Trump, the Electoral College. So I didn't vote, but like that was truly like I so badly don't want Hillary, but even worse, I don't want Trump. Like so I was sick to my stomach at the thought of either of them winning.
Now, do you wish you would have voted for Hillary?
Well, again, my vote meant nothing in Texas, but
Yeah. Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
back, 4 years of
But
Hillary would have
how many people were there like you in Texas? Was it enough to swing the Texas vote?
I don't know. Hillary is not likable. And
This
like
is
I
where
can't.
voting actually matters, man. Like everybody has to get out and vote because there could be 100,000 of you in Texas, in the right district in Texas, that could turn the whole election,
I don't
and we
think I
would
don't think
never have Trump.
Texas isn't a good example of that. Like
Well,
Florida and Ohio are examples of that, not Texas.
how
So
many people didn't vote in Texas?
a lot. I'm thinking
A
like
lot,
two-thirds of
a
eligible
lot.
voters don't vote.
But if
Anyhow,
everybody in Texas voted,
I'm sorry.
we
I've
might
I've
not have
voted
Trump.
ever since Trump got elected. I've voted in every election since 2018 midterms, and yeah,
It's
but
fine. I'm just saying that this is why we vote, right?
yeah.
We should all vote. Everybody should vote.
I think we're going to see a lot higher voter turnout in this the midterms and the next presidential election
Mhm.
because I think after 4 years of not having Trump, people were kind of like, whatever, they both suck, I don't want either
Yeah.
of them. And now, the way that it looks like right now, Trump has the left energized, and independents are fleeing Trump right now. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Mhm.
Polling is bad, but I think suddenly there's going to be a resurgence of a bunch of, and then it's going to be the same thing like in 2020. They were like, oh, like I'm supposed to believe 87 million people voted for Biden. Like that was clearly fraud. No, 87 million people didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump. Like there was
Yeah.
a lot of people were like, I don't care who it is, as long as it's not Trump, I'll vote for him. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyhow,
It's just
um,
crazy.
really quick, speaking of numbers looking really bad, Trump has the worst approval rating at the 100-day mark of any president in the last 80 years. I think Hoover is like you have to go all the way back to Hoover and the Hoover towns or whatever, Hoovervilles. Anyhow,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I sent you something to stick up on the screen real quick. It's the Trump approval. All right,
Okay.
so I stole this from the Daily or so from Breaking Points. I'm going to scoot up so I can see this, but this is all the 100-day polls. Apparently, the 100-day mark is a big thing to poll. Normally, at the 100-day mark, like you're still in the honeymoon period, so
Mm-hmm.
people have good numbers at this point. ABC's got them at a 39% approval, Pew at a 40, New York Times at a 42%, Reuters 42. YouGov 41. Even Fox News's poll has them at 44% approval, and
They're the
we got
highest, of course.
Harvard at 31. That's the outlier poll. But so if you average all those out, he's sitting at about 42%, maybe 43. Like
Yeah.
Not looking good. I didn't get any screens. You can take that down now. I didn't get any breakdowns, but it's all independents. Like the left already didn't like him. The independents have left him, and like certain demos he did really good with young males and Hispanic voters. Those have left. So all that's left now, we've talked about like his floor, like the MAGA voters that aren't leaving.
Hmm.
Where have we guessed that's at? We guessed like 38%, I think.
Yeah, I think you said 37, 38.
I think we're about there. Like his numbers
Okay.
they can go about 4 or 5 points lower, and then that's the ceiling right there, or the
Dude.
floor, excuse me. Um, Anyhow, to break down the numbers real quick, I don't have a screenshot of this, but his numbers on immigration, that's normally his strongest thing. 47% approve, 51 disapprove. So he's underwater on immigration. On the economy, 43 disapprove, 55 approve, underwater there. Trade, 42%. Who are the 42% of people that think that he is doing a good job on trade right now? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked to one of our buddies. He thinks that things are going to work out with the tariffs for somehow.
I probably know
I
who
don't
you're
know
talking
how.
about. Yeah. When I
Yeah,
asked him, he said it had to be done. Somebody had to do it, and Trump's doing it. I we'll
I don't
get
see
there.
it. I mean, I just don't see how he pulls a miracle out of his, you
We'll
know what?
we'll get to trade and tariffs next. But what's interesting, Ukraine, 35% approve, 56 disapprove. So he's way underwater there, and everybody thought Ukraine, like, oh, more Americans want us to get out of Ukraine. Turns out wrong. Turns out only
No,
35. Yeah. So, and then
no,
the
and
Abrego.
I guarantee you it would be the same numbers if we went after Netanyahu too. If he started, what
Yeah.
is his approval rating on that?
On Israel, I didn't see. Abrego Garcia, the guy that got deported, 31% approve. So only a third of Americans are cool with that. Then even foreign conflicts, 40% approve, 54% disapprove. So his numbers are bad. Um, what sucks is I asked, who is this 38%? Who is this 44%? I got a little look at who that is. There's a guy named Frank Luntz. He used to be the guy on Fox News who ran like the decision desk and did all their focus groups. And he's the one who in 2020, Fox was the first to call Arizona for Biden, and that's what like locked it up for Biden. And Trump
Okay.
got so mad he demanded they fire him, and they did. So he is, and he called it right. Here's a video from him real quick on a focus group he was doing.
I need to ask you an issue that no one's brought up and that has crashed your 401ks, most of you, your tariffs. Stock market is way down.
It needed a correction.
Oh, so you support it.
Yes. You bet.
Yep.
How many
And I
do you
have to
support?
tell you,
How many
my
do you
401k
support?
wasn't impacted at all.
First off, how many of you did not lose any money over the crash of the stock market? One individual, two people. So,
Absolutely.
Serena
The
and
Biden
Joe,
administration, I lost more money than the Trump administration by far.
In 2020, in
Like
2022, they crashed it
40%
by
or more.
25%. Yeah. For the whole year.
no one's upset over this?
No.
No,
Nobody.
If people just get in and stay the course, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I'm not a day trader. I try not to look at it very often, which is, I think, a good thing. But I also trust that Trump and all of his advisors that are involved with the tariff issue know what they're doing. So I'm just going to hang on. I know it'll correct at some point.
How much do prices have to go up before you say, this is not that great
I'd
a
rather
strategy?
not buy from China. I'd rather pay more money and buy American.
Same.
And prices only go up if demand is inelastic and if there's no alternative supplies. And they're doing a brilliant job. They're surrounding China with countries that want to manufacture stuff as well. And we do need to bring the stuff back, the strategic stuff for sure. But China is going to be in the soup if they don't knock it off.
Every article of clothing I have on is probably made in China, Malaysia, or somewhere else. Okay, retailers, give me something made in America.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say if you lost more money under Biden, you're not doing it right. You're doing something completely wrong. And second of all, somebody said that they lost 25% under Biden. When did it go down 25%?
I don't think it ever went down 25%, but there was like a 3 month run where all 3 months combined lost a lot, but then it bounced back. So
Right.
Trump's 1 month right now is not as bad as Biden's 3 months were. So you're not grading it on the same scale. But I think it was summer of 2022. The markets were really bad for a while. I mean, when Trump got elected, they were at 44,000, so they bounced way back. But you know,
That's when all the shipping containers were like
yes.
held up in ports and stuff. Yeah.
That was when the supply chain was turning back on. And inflation was really high. There was a lady that said her 401k has not been affected. Um, there's this thing where like there's obvious answers to some stuff, and it's like, okay, you get your 401k statement quarterly. A lot of times, even if you go log on, it doesn't update, depending on who you have it with, it doesn't update till every quarter. So it's not updating daily, so you can see what it's doing.
Oh.
I have a feeling she has one of those where she's looked and she's like, yep, that's exactly where it was last time I looked. And it's like, yeah, because you're going to get a rude wake up call in a couple of weeks here when the first quarter ends, but cool.
Yeah.
But also, like, the economy's a vibe. Like, a lot of people say that, but like under Biden, when the numbers were looking good, but everybody just felt like, the economy wasn't good and they didn't have enough money and this and that. Like, it's all about a vibe. And I think if you put yourself in a positive mindset, like if Biden's president and you're for Biden, you can be like, no, it's good. Like, the economy's doing great, and like make yourself believe that. Or if you hate Biden, you can make yourself believe that. Those people
Yeah.
are feeling the good vibe right now. There was one guy that said basically that Trump has China surrounded right now. And like that guy, I'm like, who are you listening to? Like, where are you getting your news? Like
Steve Bannon.
that was his goal, but it's not working out at all so far. Maybe it will work out, but right now there's no evidence that he's surrounding China. There's evidence that China's putting a blockade up around us. So that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, I was just listening to somebody talk about this, and like one of the things that I picked out of there was he was like, "Yeah, we should already have done a deal with Korea because Korea, we don't have any tariffs with Korea. They have no tariffs with us. We have no tariffs with them. Like it should be on again. Like
Korea and Australia are the first two he should have called because they had zero tariffs on us. And for some reason, we put 10% on them, even though they were not tariffing us at all. But like that would be the easiest two for him to call and say, hey, let's both sign on paper that it's going to be 0% tariffs. No, we're not going to tariff each other. And then
deal done.
he'd have two deals to hold up and it would look good. And he'd be like, and what's funny is I'll bet right-wing media could like not lie, but they could say it in a way where people would walk away from it thinking like, oh, he got them to drop their tariffs when it turns out
do
they
it every
never
day. They do it all day, every
Yeah,
day.
they
The
never had
media
to.
spin
So
is insane. But you know what? I don't think he's not going to call anybody. That's the thing. He wants them to
Yeah.
call him. That's the thing. He wants them to come and grovel. And I don't think any of these other leaders. I mean, you don't become a leader without having like dignity for yourself, right? And I don't think any of these leaders are actually going to like bow down to him, except for
no,
a few.
the thing is, a lot of countries have called. Like when he says the phones are ringing off the hook, countries are calling because they're calling us. Like it's not the leader calling Trump, but it's trade representatives calling,
Sure.
and they're calling and saying, "Hey, what exactly are you looking for in a deal?" And on all accounts, all these other countries are saying that either A, America never called us back. We called them left a message, they never called us back, or when we talked to them, they really couldn't explain what they wanted. Like they don't want it was always I don't know, what are you offering? And it's like, no, tell us, what are you looking for? So that's
stupid.
where we're at, and it's because nobody really knows what Trump's trying to do here. We'll get more into that in a second, but when Donald Trump's numbers get low and he starts to get down because he thinks people don't like him, there is one thing they always pull out of the toolbox. Can you take a guess what's happening this week?
Oh, I don't know. I'm blanking.
It's the one thing that re-energizes Trump and makes him feel all warm inside.
Oh, he's doing a rally.
There you go. Yes, he's
Is
doing
this
a
his
rally.
birthday rally? His
He's
like
doing a no,
multi-billion dollar bulge.
He's doing a rally Tuesday night in Warren, Michigan. And that like they've said that's not like me guessing. Like people around him in the White House have said like when he starts to get low, like that really recharges him. Like he gets out on stage and everybody's cheering for him and like that's the way to kind of get him re-engaged. So that's what we're doing now. We got a lot of bad numbers on the polling, so let's hold a rally to keep Trump in good spirits. So
Dude, the algorithms have got me. I started listening to some conspiracy theories. Like, have you heard the one about this is like the last pope?
Yeah, I saw where there was a prediction of how many popes there would be, but apparently that prediction, whatever number it was, like there'll be 111 popes or whatever it was, like we're not even close to that number yet. So, but
No, no,
people,
no. So there's like I don't know, a book or something that like names every pope and like it's accurate
okay,
for all the popes. And Pope John Paul was the last one on there. And then if you look inside the where they have all the popes lined up, like all their photos lined up on the wall, like there's only one space left.
okay,
So they're saying that that's the last pope. Plus, they sent me this thing in the algorithm. Have you heard about Baron Trump? What is it
uh,
called?
yeah, there was a book about a Baron Trump.
Yeah, the time
So
traveler who was like a king, and he was the last president of the United States ever.
my theory is that Trump, like maybe if he doesn't remember it subconsciously, he saw that book or heard of that book at one point, and in his mind he was like Baron Trump. And then when he had to name his son, he was like Baron Trump, and he might not even remember where he heard that, but it's because he saw that book. That's my theory on that one.
Right.
The Pope thing. What's funny is if the world does end by like nuclear war, like we all set him off,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be funny just a little bit? Because right now, if you had a guess, like oh, it'd be America and Russia or America and China. Wouldn't it be funny if India and Pakistan like set off a chain reaction of nukes where everybody starts launching and we that world ends because of those two when none of us were paying attention to them the whole time?
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody saw it coming. So that's my
Yeah.
prediction is it'll be like those two go to war and it just yeah. Anyhow, all that good news I just told you polling wise, good news for Dems, bad news for Trump. The problem is, I think a lot of people, Democrats, when they see that, they're like, oh, Trump's at 39% approval rating in the ABC poll. So that means 61% like the Dems. Like, I think that's where their head initially goes. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, that's not at all how it works out.
Yeah.
Like I think I saw the polling I saw today was that like 64% of America don't approve of the Democrats and 71% don't approve of the Republicans. So the Dems are slightly more likable, but
Yeah.
America still hates both sides. So if you're a Democrat, don't think like, yay, because they don't like Trump, they like us again. No, they're
No.
sickened by everybody.
I mean, I'm kind of on that same page. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
like either one of them, but
And that's the Democrats, just based off everything's happening, should just run away with the midterms, like easily. But I always
okay.
say, never forget that the Democrats can screw this up. Like it's totally capable.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Bernie is like naming predecessors for him and like trying to get people in office like taking Democrat seats in
Yeah.
spots we already have seats, which is could hurt us, but also like I kind of agree with him. Like the Democrats are not doing what they should be doing,
Yeah.
and they haven't done what they should be doing for the last 10 years.
The primaries for the midterms are going to be messy because there are going to be some senators and congressmen that get challenged from the left, and they'll have Bernie and David Hogg, who that guy. When I saw him, I was like, I recognize this guy's face, but he was one of the survivors of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Florida, like a high school shooting that
Mm.
happened. And I remember he became like guns rights advocate or whatever afterward. Gun control
Mm.
advocate is what I should say.
Control
Um,
advocate, yeah.
and now he's like, I just learned this. He's the vice chair of the Democratic Party. He's like 22, maybe. And
Oh,
he has pledged that he's going to go after, like, he has a list of Democrats he's going to go after because they're not being vocal enough or standing up to Trump enough or whatever.
okay.
So the midterms are going to get rough.
Good.
Right
Good.
before we came on tonight, I had John Stewart. It's Monday, so John Stewart was on, and he summed up my fear of the Democrats blowing this better than I could possibly do. So we're just going to throw it to John Stewart real quick for his view on this.
But I hate to break the bad news to Donald Trump. His lowered approval rating triggers the Chuck Schumer fight instinct. You remember.
We're going to keep at it, keep at it, keep at it until he goes below 40.
Yes! He's below 40 now. You've got him right where you want him. Finish him, Schumer. Trump is going after free speech at universities. How will you destroy Trump now that he's below 40%?
So we sent him a very strong letter just the other day, asking 8 very strong questions.
Fuck.
So
No, Chuck Schumer, get him out of here. He needs to go. We
That's-
need to get rid of Chuck Schumer immediately.
I saw that and I knew that I couldn't say it better than John Stewart. But yeah, like all right, Dems, like his approval's tanking. What are you gonna do? They're just like I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy in Team America World Police from the United Nations. We're gonna send him a very, very strongly worded letter. Like that's where we're at, everybody. So, and that's I still say I'm not
This
defending Chuck
makes me
Schumer.
mad.
Okay.
I'm smiling and I'm laughing, but it makes me mad.
I'm not defending Chuck Schumer. Hear me out, please, on that, okay? But I still say they don't have the power to do anything. They don't have the power to stop any legislation going through right now. So other like if you want them to go punch Trump in the face, like that's about all. I mean, people are like, why aren't they stopping this? They have no power to stop this at all.
I mean, they could have stopped the continuing resolution, right?
They and Schumer's.
They could have done something. That would have been the one thing they could have done.
I'm not backing Schumer. I want to make that so clear. But Schumer's point was no, no, no. If we just let them do this, everybody will see how terrible his ideas are and his approval will tank. That was his argument. And you could say it has played out that way. Now it's destroying a lot of things about America and our economy. But if his goal truly was, no, 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 let him do it. Let America see what they're going to get with Trump doing what he wants to do, which is what he said his goal was. That's what's happening. So what he wanted to do is happening. Now you could make the argument, was that the right thing to do or not? But it worked out exactly like he thought it would.
I mean, I can see their strategy where they're just like, let Trump destroy America so that but then we have to put the pieces back together. And how are we going to put the pieces back together? That's the problem.
The theory is, and the theory on this side, not my theory, is that you have to let America really see it. Because if we stop him and say, hey, he would have destroyed the economy, then there would be an argument between left and right of like, no, he wouldn't. Yes, he would. No, he would have brought manufacturing back. No, that could never happen. So you got to let it play out and let everybody see so that it can be settled. And that's the argument on that side. Not saying it's right, just saying that's the argument. So,
no, there's still going to be 37% of people that think when the economy is actually destroyed, they're going to think it was Biden's fault.
Yes. Yeah. We're, like I said, 37, 38%. But
they're going to blame it on Biden for somehow. I don't know how they're going to spin it, but yeah.
The best we can hope for is that all the independents see what's going on, and that's all that can really happen. So.
Oh, I got one more conspiracy theory for you.
Okay. You got it. What's up?
So have you heard the theory that Trump never got shot in the ear and it was actually just a whole like hoax?
So I don't believe that it was a hoax. I don't think the bullet hit his ear. And if it was really a 223 AR round, like they've done testing, like if it hit his ear, it would have exploded his ear. Like there's a theory that it hit like the microphone or the glass or something around him and a piece of shrapnel hit his ear. And like, I think that's probably what, either way somebody shot at his head and something hit his ear. So I'm not trying to diminish from anything that happened. I'm just saying if a 223 round buzzes your head and hits your ear, like there's no scar, there's no missing chunk of ear at all. Like 2 weeks after this happened, he didn't have the bandage on anymore, and his ear was fine.
No wound. There's no wound. It's like it's perfectly fine. There's no wound. And the way he acted right afterwards, where he fight.
I think that's his showmanship. I think that
seems staged.
That's core Trump. Staged. No, Trump knows how to play the audience, and that was core Trump right there. So
right.
And I don't think
that was my other conspiracy theory that I've been forced.
No, and that's with both the shooters. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories. I think those were two nutty people that wanted to take a shot at Trump. That's
for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where it was. So anyhow, okay. So the other thing that I hate the fact that we spend so much time on this, but the trade war, tariffs still going on. On like last Thursday or Friday, the CEOs of Walmart, Target, and Home Depot all went into the White House and met with Trump, and they said, hey, even if you stop this today, in 2 weeks, we're going to have empty shelves. Like prices are going up. We don't have shipments coming in. I don't know if you've seen, but they were showing pictures of the port of Seattle and the port of Los Angeles, which is normally busy as heck with ships waiting to get in, and they were both empty. There were no ships stocked. The International Longshoremen's Union, the only reason I even know of them is because they actually voted for Trump. And normally they vote Democrat, but they supported Trump in the last election. They wrote a letter today strongly condemning the tariffs and the fact that basically they're out of work now. Like if there's no ships to unload, they don't get paid. So they're all very upset.
This was a pro-Trump guy, right? He had to make a big show like right out of the election.
Yeah, which like I said, that whole union normally goes Democrat, and then like he met with Trump and this and that. And he endorsed, and they're very upset right now. Trump. I don't even know where this stands now, but have you seen all this where like first Trump claimed that he was like, oh yeah, no, we're having talks with China right now. And then China came out and said, this is fake news, not happening. And then the next day, Trump said that he's talked to President Xi. And,
Mhm.
it was like a whole back and forth where it's like, China is a country you shouldn't trust. Like they control the flow of information and their people only hear what they want them to hear. So if
Yeah.
China says something in general, you don't take it at face value. But also, Trump's a bullshitter. So, like, are they talking or are they not talking? And
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't trust either of them. And at one point, Trump even said he's like, well, Xi is talking to his audience at home, and it's like, yeah, that's true. Like that, like China might be talking to Trump, and they're not letting their people know that they're talking. But China, the last thing China said is that they will not negotiate at all unless Trump fully pulls down all tariffs. Like he needs to go back to zero, and then we'll talk. And
Mm.
they had some old ancient Chinese proverb where it was like, whoever ties to the string to the bell must be the one who unties the string, or something like that. I don't really know, but that's their starting position. Is we're not even going to talk to you until you take all these ridiculous tariffs off. I got one video real quick. This is from the Bulwark.
Yeah, please. A question on China. Can you clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual, I think you have your reporting wrong. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
So he said right off the bat there that the reporter asked him, he said, hey, China's saying it's fake news that you guys are talking. And he said, oh, no, they're talking. They were talking this morning. It doesn't matter who they is. And it's like, well, hold on. That's a big matter. Like, are trade representatives talking, or is this just a normal kind of diplomacy? We check in every day. Hey, we're not mad. Like, there are daily diplomatic calls that happen between embassies and all that. So if those calls,
America calls them and be like, hey, are you guys ready to talk trade? And they're like, no. Boom.
Exactly. So like that, we might be playing semantics here. Like, are they talking or are they negotiating? Like that. Like maybe they did call just to say hello, and that's talking.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Yeah. And China is saying, hey, we're not negotiating with them. Maybe both of them are telling the truth. They are talking, but they're also not negotiating. So nobody's lying here. Who do you trust more in this? What do you think? Who's being honest?
I can't trust either one of them. No,
Yeah.
Trump is a notorious liar, and Xi is just not to be trusted overall.
Part of the reason that I say I almost believe Xi more, and I hate saying that, but like Trump also said on Friday that, or actually, I don't think Trump said it. Either Caroline Leavitt or Scott Bessent said it, but they said that we have 18 like written contract offers from countries that we've already received, and I think that's a total lie, because if we did, we'd be seeing them. He'd be waving them. Look, I got 18 deals done. The fact they said that, and like, what? Oh, he's waiting. He doesn't want us to know that he's already got these deals done, and he's waiting to tell us. No, I don't believe that at all. What was the other thing?
Did you say shelves will be bare in 2 weeks?
We will have empty shelves in 2 weeks. Not all, but certain products like shelves will start. And they said that even if he course corrects today and stops all this, we're going to have like 2 to 3 months of like spotty product outages and increased prices, because the ship stopped moving like 3 weeks ago, I guess on the 9th. So it takes a while. The way it takes, they listed it out, but it takes like 4 weeks for a ship to go from China to Seattle, 5 weeks to LA, and like 7 weeks to Houston or whatever. And those are the main ports where we get Chinese stuff in. So even like, and you remember COVID, like when we turned the supply chain back on, it didn't just instantly like, no, it took a year for everything to get rolling again. So every day now we're in the bonus. Like we're already at a point where there's going to be pain on the shelves at the stores. It's just a matter of like, how long is it going to take to get everything back to normal? Goldman Sachs today, I should have been more prepared. Hold on. This was, I keep seeing stuff that Wall Street's saying and it scares me. But one of the things I saw today, let's see, Goldman Sachs is now projecting that the United States will have the lowest economic growth and the highest inflation rate of any developed economy in 2025.
Well,
and that's if he course corrects today, that's still true. So scary stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
Real quick,
just economy. I mean, what did he think was going to happen if you just start throwing random tariffs at every country in the world.
You want to know what I really think he thought was going to happen? I think he truly thought that every country would come rushing to make a deal and that we'd never get to the point where all this is happening. But since every country didn't react the way he thought they would, now he's backed into a corner. And the typical Trump, he could back down, which he kind of started to do last week. At one point on Thursday or Friday, he said, "Oh, the 145% tariffs, everybody knows that's not going to be the tariff rate. They're going to come down." And Wall Street reacted and like stocks went up that day. And then later on that day, Caroline Levitt came out and said, "No, he's not reducing the tariffs. Like he's not going to do that at all." So they're back and forth on it. But the problem is when he said, "Well, yeah, like they're not going to stay at 145, they're going to get dropped." People online, which he's online all the time, people started calling him a pussy, basically. They were like, "Oh, he's already backing down, blah, blah, blah," which we got to resist the urge to do that because then he's like, "I'm not backing down." They should have just let him, they should have let him de-escalate a little bit. It would have helped in the long run, but they couldn't resist the urge to say that he was backing down and to make
This
fun of him
is
for it.
Cuckooville, man. This is Cuckooville.
Yeah.
This is insane. He says 150. Oh no, it's not going to be that high. And then Carolyn Levitt says, "No, yes, it's going to be that high." Like she's his spokesperson. Like,
oh yeah.
And then I mean Pete Hegseth and JD Vance. Like I am baffled by this. Like this reality. This is like the crazy. What was that reality show back in the day? With the two blonde girls.
The two blonde girls? I have no Paris Hilton and I don't know the other one's name. Yeah. Well, what's sad is Pete Hegseth is having a month. Like things aren't going well for him. There's people like blowing the whistle on him and leaking all this stuff. And he hasn't even made my show rundown because there's other things going on that are more important. But like Hegseth is getting saved by the tariff stuff because we're not paying attention to how terrible things are going for him.
Oh my gosh.
Real quick, let's do another fun talk on trades. This is from CNBC.
China's embassy just said they are not having any talks on tariffs and that the U.S. should stop creating confusion. Now, just a bit of a reminder, this Time Magazine piece came out literally at 6 a.m. this morning. It was an interview with President Trump. That interview, though, took place apparently on Tuesday. So here we are on Friday. It's been a roller coaster of a week, and so many different things have been said, both by the president and his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and others. But the one thing that has been consistent thus far is that China, at least publicly, has said that there have been no talks whatsoever. And of course, there's also the IMF meetings where China.
So, yeah, so that wraps it up. China is very firm, no talks. Now we got to play the game of, you know how Trump kind of likes the fact that he's a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do next. He keeps the world on his toes. Do you think that this is a strategic move to be, I'm going to lower him? No, he's not. Like every day he kind of changes. Do you think there's any strategicness in this? Strategery?
No, I think he's old and I think he's becoming less and less coherent. And I think he wants to be this like mean dictator guy, but he also wants to be loved by his people. And he doesn't want this economy to crash because people are going to hate him. And, you know, he probably has 1,000 different ears in his coming at him, and he doesn't know which one to actually believe.
So
we talked about that last time.
Oh, that I think what we talked about last time, where they tricked Peter Navarro into going across the street. So Trump is heavily influenced by whoever the last person he talked to is. So I think there's some of that. I think that like some days Scott Bessent can go in and say, "Hey, look, the stock market, the bond market, like this is bad. This is going to be unrecoverable," and he can get Trump to soften his tone. And then that afternoon, Peter Navarro comes in and says, "Mr. President, the world's going to think you're weak if you don't stick to your guns here." And I think that, and that there is, I'm trying to think how to say this right. There is a science to having diverse views around you. Like in a president's cabinet, I want him to hear from people with different viewpoints. You need that, but you have to be real selective about who those viewpoints are and how they get along together. Trump brings in people that have their own viewpoints, but also have like a cutthroat deal where like, that's why there was so much leaking the first time around for Trump. And it was because people were always leaking to try to make somebody else look bad to make themselves look better. There's a book about it called like Pit of Vipers, and it was talking about Trump's cabinet. But like, if there's a bad story about Mike Waltz coming out, like, that's coming from Tulsi or maybe JD, because like they have a completely different view of them. And if he does something to screw up, they want that in the public. public, so maybe he'll get fired. And there's all kinds of that back and forth. The other thing is, and you said this, you were right on two accounts there. Too many people in his ear, and he really cares about going down in history as being a great president. Like, he wants that so bad. Right now, they're talking about putting his face on Mount Rushmore, and they want to do it like now while he's still in office because they know that by the time he's out of office, it's not going on there. Like, no president down the line is going to put it on there.
Remember when the presidential rankings came out last time?
He was 40. He was second to last, right? Or was he last?
Second to last. Yeah. I think, was it Hoover? Was Hoover the last one?
I think Hoover might have been. Which Hoover was that way because he wrecked the economy and made everybody go homeless, which is what Trump's trying to do. So
Trump ended up there because the way he handled the pandemic.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to go after he's trying to go after last place, maybe.
Can't be first. You might as well be last.
Stick himself on Mount Rushmore. Can you imagine, dude?
I'm gonna be. I won't get mad about a lot this term, but if they announce that they're starting work next week on putting Trump's face next to Lincoln's on Mount Rushmore, like, I'll be a little heated about that. I'm not gonna lie. But so me and you both agree that this is not some strategic move where he's a wild card, that he's being pulled in a lot of different directions. Scott Bessent, one of the guys pulling him in different directions, he believes in the strategic theory. Check this out real quick. This is from ABC.
President Trump's strategy really has been to announce these tariffs, then dial some back, pause them, make exceptions. Explain why you see this as a good negotiating strategy.
Well, in game theory, it's called strategic uncertainty. So you're not going to tell the person on the other side of the negotiation where you're going to end up. And nobody's better at creating this leverage than President Trump. He's shown the high tariffs, and here's the stick. This is where the tariffs can go, and the carrot is come to us, take off your tariffs, take off your non-tariff trade barriers, stop manipulating your currency, stop subsidizing labor and capital, and then we can talk. But I tell you, Martha, that we've had several of these Asian countries that come in and said, oh, well, we'll stop doing this, this, and this. And I look at these lists, and I think, how did we get here? How did we get here? Because this trading system has been so unfair. And as President Trump says, I don't blame the countries. I blame the previous administrations that let them get away with it.
It's so unfair.
So the first point I want to make right at the end there, he said, I don't blame these countries. I blame the previous administrations that let them do this. Our trade deal with Mexico and Canada, Trump put together, Trump signed. The one with Korea and Japan, Trump put together and signed. The one with Cambodia. All these Asian countries that I guess, even our trade deal with China, Trump renegotiated, and that's where he put the steel tariffs and all that on. So all these Asian countries that they're saying they don't blame the countries, they blame the previous administration that let them get away with that. These are Trump's trade deals, okay? Now let's go back to the beginning of that video. He called it strategic uncertainty, and basically this has been the plan all along. We show him the stick, and then we show him the carrot. I think he said flat out, like it helps for the other country to not know where you're going to end up on these. Oh, that irritates. It hurts the heck out of all these Wall Street and all these corporations because they have no clue what's coming next. They don't know how to plan for it. They're laying people off. But
any negotiator knows you could come to somebody and be like, "Hey, this is what we want." And as America, we would have the rights. And you do that. This is what we want. And if we don't get that, then we're going to put tariffs on you. You don't just put tariffs on you. And Japan came to them. All these countries are coming to the United States going, what do you want? And they're just like, what do you got? They don't know what they want.
I'm not into international trade or international diplomacy, but it seems like my peon brain looks at it and goes, hey, what you would do in this situation if China's the major problem. The other countries have little tariffs and non-tariff barriers on us. We'll deal with them too. But like, as soon as he comes into office, get all the other countries we have trade deals with and say, hey, here's the deal. We're going to stick it to China. I need you on our side. Blah, blah, blah. They would have all done it to stay in our good graces, okay? And then you take care of China with the world all united with you. And then after you get that new trade deal with China, you start going to the other countries and saying, hey, this isn't fair. One at a time. Keep it simple. Don't try to, and somebody said this the other day, but don't try to renegotiate or negotiate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Gaza, 90 trade deals, take on China, talk about annexing Green. He's doing a lot at the same time. Like,
Way too
Wanted
much.
to knock out one thing and move on to the next. Like that would have been the proper way to do it. And also, he should have done his tax cuts before he did all his trade war stuff because the trade war runs the risk of screwing up his tax cuts. Tax cuts first, then go after China, then do the other countries. That would have been the order. The fact that he went after all of our friends first and then said, hey, okay, will you guys all be on our side now against China? Like, dude, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, now he's saying that like he's even saying like when we get these tariffs all in place, we're not going to have to Americans aren't going to have to pay any taxes.
Dude, so the tariffs were originally about fentanyl. He declared a national emergency. It's the only way he got to do this without Congress. He said it's about fentanyl. Then he shifted it and said it's about fair trade. It should be fair across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said it's about bringing back manufacturing. Okay, and that stuck for a little while. Then they started saying, "Oh, it'll be robots doing most of these jobs," so that went away. And now it's about replacing the income tax. Okay, let's talk about what it would take to replace the income tax with tariffs. Okay, the U.S. government brings in $3 trillion a year through taxes. Okay, and that's just from people making less than $200,000 a year. Okay, he's saying it would possibly eliminate income tax for people making under 200,000 or under 150,000. He said both. We're gonna say 200,000. Okay, $3 trillion is what he would need to replace through tariffs. Right now, I'm sorry, I said one thing wrong. 675 billion is what's paid by people under 200,000. 3 trillion is the total amount. Okay. In order right now, his current tariff plan with 10% on everybody and 145% on China, that should bring in 170 billion in a year. Okay. So he needs to replace 675 billion. And right now, his tariffs that are already too high that he's talking about we're going to negotiate down are only bringing in 170 billion.
So we'd have to do like 500% tariffs on to.
So it would take I'm trying to think. I had it written down here somewhere. I think it would have to be 400% tariffs on everybody across the board in order to make up the 675 billion that people under 200,000 a year are making.
Just the people under 200,000.
Yeah. So he could get rid of income taxes for people making under 200,000 a year if he's willing to do a 400% tariff on everything. So all the money you're saving in taxes, you would then be paying with every transaction at the grocery store or buying clothes or buying whatever it is you buy. Everything would cost.
Here's where Cuckoo Town really comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He could do that tomorrow, and we wouldn't be that surprised if he just went, yeah, everybody 400% tariffs. Like, and you wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Nobody would really be surprised.
He could do the tariffs tomorrow. The thing is, he can't get rid of income tax or even adjust income tax without having Congress do it. And like right now, they're going to try to adjust the tax law using the reconciliation. So that's the only time when you get a new president in, you have 1 year to do a reconciliation bill. And that means you just need a majority in the House and the Senate. Okay. After reconciliation is done, everything after that has to get 60 votes in the Senate. So you'd have to get 7 Democrats to vote along with it. So he can't get rid of income tax without Congress doing it for him. That's not even being discussed right now. It's not going to happen. I think what it is he started to see the numbers come in on the tariffs and all that, and he realized that America was not happy with what he was doing. So he threw out the income tax thing to try to, no, I'm doing this to get rid of income taxes so that he could try to get his polling numbers better, is what I think. I don't think there's any plan to actually do this.
He's trying to get his polling numbers. I don't think his polling numbers are going to come back, just like the economy's not going to come back.
I think his polling numbers, his ceiling is like 46% and his floor is 38%. He's going to live his whole presidency in between there.
I keep hearing that like even if Trump like takes back all of his tariffs and he goes back to square one, like our economy is still not going to like come back.
I don't remember the number, but the amount of small businesses that have already closed, like they're giving up basically before they go bankrupt. They're just closing their doors and they're done. That's already like over the past 2 weeks, small businesses, they see the writing on the wall and they're closing. I wish I could remember the number. It was high.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're like close to retirement and you've got some savings, you don't want to like struggle through these times. Like,
yep.
Yeah. Well, we have a buddy who works in retail and I'm kind of concerned about his
The couple times I've even mentioned this to him, he's like, oh, yeah, why would we be hurt? And I'm kind of like, in my mind, I'm like, you seem like you would definitely be hurt. I think most of what comes into your store comes in from overseas, and a lot of it comes from China. Like,
oh, yeah,
big
time China.
He doesn't seem worried at all, so I hope everything goes well for him. It seems like that, and also just the stuff they sell at that store is stuff that it's not a necessity. It's something that when you have a little extra money, you go buy.
Uh-huh.
And right now, consumer confidence is just plunging, so nobody's going out to buy non-necessities, or not a lot of people are. People are hoarding their money, making sure to save it whatever they can in case things get bad. That,
Sure.
yeah, if you're running retail where you're not selling a necessity, like that's going to hurt real bad. So
Mm.
anyhow, this is totally, let's get off tariffs now because this is just funny. You know how the White House during the press briefings has the what they call it the new media seat, and it's supposed to be for like YouTube
Oh yeah.
podcasters and all that.
Simple.
I'm glad you saw this. Check this out. Check this out from Fox real quick.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which.
All right. So first of all, Tim Pool's a turd. Second of all, I'm going to go after. Second of all, he went hardcore after Zelensky for not wearing a suit.
He's wearing
in
a
the White
beanie.
House.
Yeah.
He's wearing a beanie and a hoodie in the White House. And third, like this whole thing with this guy being an MS-13, like if they showed me proof, I would believe it.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely zero proof that he's an MS-13 gang member.
He was-
gang member at all. He doesn't
he was-
even have.
he was-
Does he
he
have
was
one
sta-
criminal record?
He was standing in the parking lot at Home Depot trying to get day laborer work, and in the same group he was in was a couple, I think 2 or 3 MS-13 members. That's the evidence. Okay, he does have a. It wasn't a police report. It was a statement from his wife that she was afraid he was going to hit her, or something along the, or maybe that he did hit her. I can't remember. That's the one thing he has. But real quick, they're using this new media seat. First of all, at the very end of that, Caroline Levitt was like, "We're very grateful to have the diverse opinions." That's the biggest crock because they're using it every day. Today, for example, a guy on Twitter known as his name is DC Drano. I think his real name is Rogan O'Hadley or something. He was the new media seat today. But it's always far right voices, and they kind of, I don't know if the questions are gone over in advance, but that person always like tease them up to go after the media. Like Tim Pool right there was like, "What do you have to say about all the dishonesty from these reporters?" Blah blah blah. I can't remember DC Drano's question, but he ended up getting a question later, like a follow up, and he did press them on the Epstein files and why they haven't released him. So I'll give him credit for that.
Okay.
But this whole new media seat, like, do you think there's any chance you're ever going to see like a David Pakman or a Sam Cedar or a Kyle Kalinske or anybody like that there?
Oh, I would love to see them in there.
It's never going to happen. I mean, the only thing is sooner or later they're going to run out of like right wing YouTubers because I think they've almost run through them all at this point.
They'll just rotate them through again.
I guess.
They'll
So
do.
now there is a way you can go on to like the White House website and like request that you be considered for the new media seat. So I think we should totally request that just daily.
No, will stay under the radar.
I will fly to DC to sit in that seat. I'll wear my quarter zip and backward hat because Tim Pool got away with a beanie. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. Anyhow,
we're gonna have to start talking real sweet about Trump real quick.
You were talking about the Maryland man thing. This is key. Remember how I told you at the beginning of this that this is not a good fight for the Democrats? It's immigration. I was wrong. I'm telling you right now, I was wrong. But at the time, it was like, hey, they're going to frame this where they're going to say the Democrats care more about a guy with an MS-13 member than they do about American citizens. Or I just felt like it was a losing battle. Chris Van Hollen he made a deal of it. He went to El Salvador. He met with him. The polling, it appears this has worked. I mean, what was it? 31% disapprove of his handling of, 31% approve of his handling of the Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy. Immigration overall, he's underwater, like only 46 or 47% approve. It's working. And the reason it's working, Democrats are generally terrible at framing stuff. Okay. They actually, and it's all, not even they, Chris Van Hollen, I have respect for, because he managed to put this perfect. And if they can stick on this message, they will win this battle. Okay. Check this out real quick from Fox.
My whole point here is if you deprive one man of his constitutional rights, you threaten the constitutional rights of everybody. I would hope that all of us would understand that principle. You're a lawyer. I'm not vouching for the individual. I'm vouching for his rights under the Constitution.
So just quickly then, if he is brought back, if the administration finally says, okay, we got a duty, let's get him back here, and he's given due process, then deported again, you're okay with that process?
I support the rule of law. That's exactly my point here. And if you threaten the rule of law for one person, you threaten it for everybody in America.
Well,
the key thing
absolutely.
The key thing he said there is, I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for his rights. And if he does turn out to be MS-13, then get him out of here. But you have to show at least the immigration judge. You have to go through the process. If they can keep that exact argument up, that's a winning argument, because that's talking about a violation of our rights. And even right-wingers can kind of jump on that and be like, hey, I don't want my rights trampled on. That's a don't tread on me thing.
Well, it seems illegal that we're shipping people over to El Salvador as opposed to like putting them in our prison or shipping them back to the country that they're originated from.
What I had a discussion with a buddy. I almost said argument, but I had a discussion with a buddy about this up here that is MAGA, but MAGA light. And his thing was, well, hey, they came into this country illegally, so we should be able to deport them. And all I said is, I said, we should be able to deport them, but like deporting someone back to their country is very different than putting them in a torture prison where they're going to stay for the rest of their life. And he had not even heard that yet. He was like, huh? Torture prison? Like what? Hold on. And like, he, even knowing about this Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy, like he was not really up to speed on, hold on, it's a torture prison and he's going to be there for the rest of his life. Like, so I was like, yeah, you're giving him a life sentence in a torture prison for coming to this country legally. Is that an eye for an eye in your book? And it was funny
without due process.
Yeah, with no. And what's funny is after explaining that to him, he was like, "Oh, well, no, we shouldn't be doing that." And it's like that you're in an information loop where you haven't heard that. That's what the problem is. If they had just sent him back to his country, this wouldn't even be a deal. They sent him to a prison for the rest of his life. That's
There's
the deal.
253 of them, right?
That's about right. Yes, it was
253 of them. And 75% of them have zero criminal records.
Yep. And again, but if they came in illegally, then deport them. I have no problem. Send them back to their country, but don't send them to a prison. The problem is, what was it? What country are they from? Venezuela. Venezuela will not take any of our deportations. So that's why Trump is now sending them here. I don't even want to say he should, but if he just took them to a random ass country and dropped them off, that would still be legal. It would suck. That would be a shitty thing to do. Hey, you're in Colombia now. Have fun. But El Salvador will not take their deportations back. They don't want them. So that's why we ended up sending them to El Salvador. So that's a problem. You got to figure out that problem.
Paying El Salvador to house our prisoners.
Apparently it's considerably cheaper. It's like $6 million a year or something to house 300 people. So much cheaper than it is here. I don't know. Anyhow.
That's cheaper than it is here?
Yeah, I watched a thing on it. I probably got the numbers wrong, but that was the gist of it.
That's insane.
Yeah. So have you heard about this new club in Washington, D.C. called the Executive Branch?
It's a club?
It's a club. It just got started. It's co-owned by Don Jr., and apparently one of the other co-owners is like the money guy for Tucker Carlson, or was the money guy for Tucker Carlson at one point.
Is this like a front for Don Jr. to sell cocaine?
I don't think that. It's a front for something. But it's called the Executive Club. It's an exclusive club. It costs $500,000 a year to be a member of this club. And
money laundering again, just more money laundering.
One of the perks of this club is that at this club you will, they're being very open. This is how they're advertising it. You will have a chance to rub elbows with cabinet members and administration officials in DC. This is the hot place where Trump's cabinet and all the people in the White House are going to be hanging out. And if you're a member of this, it's called the Executive Branch. If you're a member of the Executive Branch, you have access. You can go in there and have a drink with Scott Bessent or Howard Letnick or RFK or Tulsi or whoever you want, whoever you might want to grease, whoever you want to get favorable access to. What's crazy about this is that it's just out in the open. Like they're not hiding this. This is join the executive branch, and you too can rub elbows with the people running this country. So
These
the only
people,
the
they're
only
just
thing
brazenly corrupt.
they were very careful not to say that Trump would be there ever, which I'm assuming that it's a wink nod that you'll also get access to Trump. But there's like, I don't want to say brochures, but there's like, there's literature about this. Like they're trying to get people to join. So if you got 500K a year, $500,000 a year is all it takes to have a little bit of access to the White House.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where like at first it was like, remember Trump he had his hotel in DC and everybody was like, hey, that's a way for foreign governments to kind of pay him for blah blah blah. Like we've skipped right past that now, and it's like if you want to talk to Trump, it'll cost you $1 million to sit down with him for a night, or you can join the executive branch for 500,000 a year, $500,000, and have access to his whole cabinet.
You can buy into his meme coin. You can.
How would you like to buy access to the president? Because there's ways.
Buy his watches. What else do you have? Yeah,
there's all kinds of. So yeah,
that's insane.
With all the other stuff going on, we don't have time to focus on everything, and these things that we're just not focusing on. So I just thought I'd let you know. So that's going on.
Did you see the Pope's funeral? Any of it?
I saw some stuff. I saw a little bit. I saw when Trump walked in, nobody clapped for him, and it was real quiet. But then when Zelensky walked in, like the place erupted. I only got one more video left tonight. But Trump and Macron were supposed to have a sit down, and the way they did this is they had just like two chairs in the middle of like a marble room, like no privacy really. But the videos, I saw several videos of this, and all the videos did not have sound. They didn't want you to hear what anybody was saying. So no sound. But
like, what do you think the bishops and all the people, all the clergymen think about like Trump comes in, nobody claps, Zelensky comes in, everybody claps. And then they're doing these like war deals in the Vatican during the Pope's funeral.
The thing is, they're talking about peace, and the Vatican would be all about trying to put an end to this war. So
I hope so.
Yeah. They are. They've spoken. The Pope was about that. He wanted an end to this war. Anyhow, so it's supposed to be Trump and Macron, and in this video, if anybody's just watching or anybody's just listening and can't see this, this is going to do nothing for them. But if you're watching, I want you to pay attention. There's a lot going on in this clip. Macron tried to crash their little talk. Macron does very well with Trump. Like, there's something about the way he deals with Trump where, like, he figured Trump out and he knows how to stroke his ego. He gets along well with him. Macron is the president of France. He's very much on Zelensky's side. They've been backing Zelensky. So at the last minute, Macron comes in and, like, he doesn't just give Zelensky, like, a handshake. He gives him, like, a cool bro handshake where they like this and like a dat. Like they had a little handshake, and then Trump turns and he kind of tries to shake Macron's hand, and then quickly it becomes a little hostile. And Trump is mad that Macron's there. And if you look in the background while they're doing this, they're bringing in a third chair to where there were previously two chairs set up. But apparently Trump told Macron, like, no, you need to get out of here. You're not sitting on this. And it was a little hostile. So real quick, check this out again. Everybody pay attention because there's no sound.
I haven't seen this. So Macron and Zelensky did their cool little handshake, and then Trump went in. It looked like he was about to hug him, but then he like stopped him. He was like, "Wait, no, you're not allowed in this."
I was confused because Trump kind of went handshake, but also went open arm at the same time. And then if you look, Macron like avoided the handshake, like he kind of pulled away. And then there was some talking, and in the background the whole time they're setting up that third chair. And then the next video we see is just Trump and Zelensky talking. Macron is gone. Afterward, apparently, the White House, Trump's people were saying that he very sternly told Macron that he shouldn't be there, and this is just them two wanting to talk. So I haven't heard what Francis had to say about it, but it was just kind of a weird little Like Zelensky was like, "Let me come." I guarantee you, they pre-gamed it, and Zelensky was like, "Man, he doesn't like me. This isn't going to go well." And Macron was like, "No, no, no, I'll come in. Like I do good with Donald. We'll work it all out." And Donald didn't want that. He wants one-on-one with Zelensky. So, but I don't think this is anything. But the Kremlin and Putin announced today that they're going to do a 3-day ceasefire. Now, the one time before that they agreed to a ceasefire, it was very limited. It was to the Black Sea and to power infrastructure, energy infrastructure. And the reason they wanted the ceasefire there is because that was the one place where Ukraine was really doing damage. They were hitting their ships in the Black Sea with drones, and then they were also hitting like their oil fields and stuff with drones, like inside of Russia. So that's where they said, yeah, let's do a ceasefire on just these two specific areas where we're losing, basically.
Interesting.
So now they're doing a 3-day ceasefire, and it's because it's going to go into effect on May 8th, I believe. May 8th. And it's about the May 9th celebration of Russia's victory over Nazi Germany. So basically them winning at the end of World War II. So they do parades, and it's one of those where they have missiles through the streets and all that, Red Square type stuff. Yeah. So they want a ceasefire just during those 3 days. Everybody kind of got excited because it's like, hey, Russia wants a ceasefire, but that's going to be a 3-day ceasefire. Then they're going to be right back at it. Ukraine said they will only do a ceasefire if it's a 30-day unconditional ceasefire.
Oh, good.
And Russia has so far said no to that. The fear that Russia has, Ukraine has already demonstrated that they can get they're called glide bombers, glide drones. They're like these drones that kind of look like little airplanes, and they can get them all the way to Moscow. They've been hitting buildings in Moscow with these. So their fear is that during their big victory parade and all their festivities, that there's going to be drone attacks happening, and that's why they want this peace. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But Russia did put out its list of demands for the ceasefire, and it's not doable. Maybe that's just their starting point. They're starting with all their wishes, and then they're willing to negotiate. But even America won't agree to what they've asked for. So that's kind of
what are they asking for?
Demilitarized zone, denazification of Ukraine, no standing army in Ukraine. Ukraine's not allowed to have an army anymore. They can never join NATO. There's a nuclear power plant there that America's offer was that America is going to run this nuclear power plant and make sure that the power goes equally to Russia and Ukraine. Russia said, nope, unacceptable. Russia must run that power plant and Ukraine can't have any of it. So lot of basically deal breakers right off the bat. And again, maybe that's their opening position. I don't know, but that's where we're at right
whatever happened to the U.S. mining parts of Ukraine? Because wouldn't that halt to whatever Putin's doing for good?
Zelensky has not signed that yet. I think they signed a framework of it, but not signed the final. And Zelensky's point is, hey, I'm willing to sign this if you actually show me that we're getting a peace deal. But if I just sign it and then we don't get a peace deal, you get half my minerals and we get nothing, we don't get peace. That's where he's at. And I think honestly, the Trump administration gets that because they're not really pushing right now for it. Because until there's a true peace deal lined up, Zelensky would be an idiot to sign that. So
yeah. Well, that'd be interesting. I mean, half the minerals is a lot, but I mean, I would put in that we get protection from the United States for.
So apparently the U.S. will not be part of any security guarantees is what they call it. Now, the U.S. has said Europe can do it. France and Germany and England and all them, they'll be your security guarantee. America is not going to commit to putting any boots on the ground or helping at all if Russia invades again in the future.
And we won't let them in the UN just because we don't want to make Russia mad?
We won't let them in NATO because, yes, we don't want to let... Which Russia has a whole thing about not wanting any UN countries on their doorstep, like right up against them. They have 3 right now. They've got the what do they call it? The Baltic states, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, which Russia was talking about invading and taking them back over because they used to be part of the Soviet Union, and they basically came running to NATO and said, please, they're going to come get us, which he could roll in so easily and take those 3 countries. That would be no problem at all. But anyhow.
Then NATO would have to respond.
Yes, and that would be, if there's ever a showdown between Russia and NATO, it'll be over those 3 countries, and NATO will have to decide, all right, is it World War III, or do we let them have these 3 little countries? That'll be their decision. So,
how old is Putin?
I have no idea.
I can look it up.
I'm gonna beat you to it.
How old is Putin? 72. Okay, so he's old.
And
he's getting old.
there's been rumors that he's in poor health for like this whole war, the last 3 years, but I don't know if any of that's true. But there's rumors that he's got cancer or something. I don't know. I've heard stuff.
Yeah, and you got to wonder who's his predecessor because could be worse than him.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be a free and fair election. And the only real opposition to him was Navalny, and he killed Navalny. So, yeah. Anyhow, I only got one thing left for us tonight. Have you seen that we're arresting judges now?
I saw that.
So 2 judges last week got arrested, and I want to be real clear here. I'm waiting for the evidence on both of these judges because I don't want to get out there and be like, "Oh, how could we arrest judges?" And then maybe it turns out that they're totally guilty. Like they might be really wrong here. Now,
I only heard about one judge, and it seemed like it was like she was doing her job.
So let's talk about her a second. The first one's real cut and dry. He was like a magistrate judge in New Mexico, so like not a federal judge, like handling very low level stuff. He had a guest house on his ranch property where there were 3 immigrants living that I guess were doing like handiwork on his ranch or whatever. One of them potentially was MS-13. The government says they were MS-13. He says he had no clue that he had kids at his house. He wouldn't have let MS-13 stay and work on his ranch with his kids, but that's the argument. Now, what they actually arrested him for was, I think it was basically deleting evidence, obstructing justice, deleting it. Apparently, maybe he had some text message on his phone or something, but they're saying he tampered with evidence, basically. We'll see. I don't know if he did or not.
I don't buy anything that's coming out of this administration at this point.
Again,
like, anytime they need like a fall point, they're just like, oh yeah, MS-13. He was MS-13.
Yeah,
like,
if he's an immigrant, he's probably MS-13 or Trenday or Agua or whatever. Yeah. So that's that judge, and if they get him on obstruction or what would it be? I think it was tampering with evidence or something like that. I don't know what the case would be or how long he would get in prison. And I don't know what, like, maybe once he realized, because when people, even if he accidentally, like, he realizes, oh shit, one of those guys was a gang member, he might have panicked and tampered with some evidence. That's very believable that somebody would do that. They tried to hide, oh shit, like there is that one text message where somebody told me he was MS-13. I better delete that and whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. So I'm not going to say anything about that. The judge in Wisconsin, it appears, so she was not a fan of ICE coming and arresting people in her courtroom. From what I understand, from what I've heard judges say, judges control their courtroom. If you step foot in their courtroom, they make the rules. Even if you're a cop that comes in, that judge has precedent over you.
Yeah, and ICE had the wrong warrant for the arrest.
They did not have the correct. They did have a warrant, but it wasn't the warrant they would need. And apparently there'd been not scuffles, but there'd been run-ins with this lady and ICE doing this exact same thing before. And she had let them know, hey, you're not arresting people in my courtroom. You need to go outside, get them the right way. They were waiting right outside of her courtroom door, and she knew, maybe she guessed or maybe she knew who they were there for. And when she was done with that person, she told them, hey, go out the side door over there where the jury goes in and out. Now, apparently that door leads to the same hallway ICE was waiting in. So they went out it, turned up the corner, and then ICE saw them walk by and still nabbed him. I think he ran and they caught him right there.
I heard that he got caught at his house. He got away and then he was caught at his house.
From what I read, they saw him leaving and then had to chase him. So I don't know. Either way, they ended up getting the guy. But so they're saying she obstructed an ICE official or whatever, and they're charging her with a felony. And then what's weird about this is they wanted to make a show of it. They waited till she got to court the next day. They didn't tackle her, but they rushed her in the parking lot. They put her up against the car. They handcuffed her. They perp walked her in. Apparently, a judge with a thing like this, it would be one of those deals where you call them and say, hey, you're being formally arraigned. You need to show up at this place and time and do your fingerprints and all that. It's handled a certain way when it's a judge. Kash Patel, the FBI director, put up a post immediately and was like, nobody's above the law. This liberal Democrat judge, blah, blah, blah. And then he deleted it like real quickly after. Apparently he got calls from Republican and Democrat former heads of the FBI, and their whole thing is you do not make statements like that. You put out you do what's called a speaking indictment. You put out the indictment and you let that do the talking for you. Here's the evidence. And they basically all called him and said, hey dude, this isn't how you run the FBI. So he pulled that down, but then later in the day he put like just a picture of her up and said something like nobody's above the law or something along those lines. They're making an example out of her. And I think that even if they can't it seems like this is a flimsy case, and I don't know enough about it, but I've heard a lot of people say that she probably
Sounds
will
like
win this. She'll probably win this and countersue the government, is what people are saying. I don't know if that's
Yep.
true. But I think the point of this is to show every other judge in America that, hey, you're not untouchable. If you cross Trump, like, we can get you. That's how I feel that this is meant to be a message.
Well, she's fighting back, and she's fighting back with her statements, and she's fighting back.
Yep.
I think this is our last line of defense, right? We've got Harvard is one, and then which isn't a big one, but I think the court, we're gonna have to fight in the courts. That's the only way we can beat Trump, is in the court system. And it seems like the Supreme Court they're tiptoeing around it, but they're pushing back against Trump a little bit. So I'm a little hopeful that this is how we're gonna hold him off, at least on some stuff.
If you don't like Trump and you want to try to thwart all the things he's doing, the courts are all you have for another year and a half. Now, once the midterms happen, if the Democrats take back the House, then you do have an arm of Congress that also can push back. But right now, it's just the courts. And I keep seeing the Senate maps for 2026 midterms. It would take a huge screw up by the Republicans to lose the Senate and the House. Like, I think they're definitely going to lose. I don't want to say definitely. There's a good chance they're going to lose the House just based off what seats are up for election and who's retiring. It'll take a lot for the Democrats to get the Senate. I'm just throwing that out there. So it's not a good year for them. The map is not in their favor. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So
did you see the more than 100 migrants were detained in Colorado Springs?
At like a nightclub or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that all about?
I don't really know too much about it, except for that it was like an underground nightclub in Colorado Springs. And I can only imagine that they're saying that they were all MS-13 members,
Yeah.
You know.
And they've hit a point now where they're just looking like they're mad that their numbers are, I think they're about even with where Biden was as far as like daily deportations, and they want to blow that out of the water. So they want to really run up some numbers. So they announced that they're going to go after them at their place of work and this and that. So they're not just going after the ones with criminal records like they said they were going to do. They're trying to get anyone and everyone. If you're here illegally, you're getting out.
Polis is very anti-ICE right now. Like, he does not want them in here doing this. So I'm waiting to hear what he has to say about this, because I have a feeling he's going to fight back on some of this stuff. And so what are they doing with these people? Are they detaining them and keeping them in American prisons until...
If they're from any country other than El Salvador, they're probably sending them back to their country. If they're or not, no, sorry, not El Salvador, Venezuela, because Venezuela is the one country that won't take them back. So they're probably deporting them, a lot of them, back to their home countries, and the ones that can't are probably going to go to the super prison. It seems like since all this happened with those first 3 planes that went to the prison in El Salvador, no other planes have gone yet. There was one night where they were getting ready to load people on buses to take them to the planes, and the Supreme Court stepped in at 1 a.m. in the morning and said no. So that's good. The problem here is I do believe, for the most part, people should come in legally. Like, that's the Republican in me, that you should come in legally. Now, we have all these potential problems coming up with the economy. Recession seems like it's at least 50% chance. We're getting rid of all these people working in our chicken plants and in our kitchens of restaurants and all that. Like, we need those people. We need those people, and we're getting rid of all them. And Trump seems to only want to replace them with like people from South Africa or Norway or Finland or Sweden. Like, those are the people he wants to come in instead. They're not going to work those jobs.
White people. He wants white people.
The House GOP is slowly putting out pieces of what's going to be the reconciliation bill. This is key. I'm going to read this tweet directly because this all came out tonight, and I haven't had a chance to look into it too much. But the House GOP's reconciliation package would dramatically reshape immigration via fees and mostly end asylum for the poor. The bill imposes a $1,000 unwaivable fee to apply for asylum, plus $550 every 6 months for work permits and $100 every year for if the case drags on. So people that are claiming asylum are the poor people coming in caravans from Central American countries. They show up and then they say, hey, I'm going to get killed if I stay in my country. The gangs are running it. Those people, if this bill passes, will need to pay $1,000 to even make an asylum claim. So right there, that takes care of, I don't want to say all, but damn near all the asylum claims. And then $550 every 6 months for a work permit. I actually don't have as much. If you're here from another country working, I don't have a problem with some kind of a little tax on you for the right of coming to American work. I don't know if
Sure.
$550 might not be the right amount. I don't really know, but
Well,
I'm
they
okay
have to pay
with that.
taxes too. They still have to pay taxes.
Yeah, they do. And maybe take a little more off the top since you're here working. I don't know. My whole thing is
550 is kind of a lot, especially in this economy.
my whole thing is make the immigration system work. We need this migrant workforce. Come up with some new bills, make it to where workers can come into this country and get on paper and work. It's not asylum, but some kind of work permit. Like that's what we need.
What do you think a fruit picker in Florida makes an hour?
$3.
An hour?
Yeah, 5 tops.
$5. Let's get. Do you really think they're not paying them that much?
I don't know. What do you think?
That's 110 hours. 550 is 110 hours.
I don't understand what you just said. 550 is 110 hours?
Okay, so you said it's $550 a month, right?
No, I said an hour. I'm saying 550 or sorry, $5 an hour is what I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
but you said they have to pay $550 a month.
Oh yeah, $550 a month is what this is what the bill is trying to do.
So that's 110 hours a month that goes straight to their $550. So that's not going to work. They're not going to get fruit pickers for that.
How much do immigrants make picking fruit? In California, the average migrant makes $18.48 an hour picking fruit, is what it says. That's California. Cost of living is high.
$550 divided by $18. That's 30 hours. So that's almost a whole week worth of work that just goes straight to paying that $550 tax. And that's before taxes too are taken out.
So here it says that most migrant workers working in factory farming and fruit picking basically make between $500 to $600 a week.
5 to 6 a week. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Mexican fruit pickers.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyhow.
Band name.
Yeah. Apparently, if you're a migrant fruit picker, you should go to California because they make a lot more there than any other state. Cost of living, I guess. So, anyhow, that's all I got for the show tonight. You got anything, buddy?
I think we're good. I'm
all right.
good.
Have a good night, sir.
You too. Later.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.